Yes, this is in fact a very important issue. Even before the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam took over his current position as Chief Minister, we have been discussing about the boundary issue from that time. And in the last 1.5, 2 years, the MHA, especially Amit Shah ji, the Honorable Home Minister of India, has also been very keen that these issues, which are very, very critical to both the states and the region as a whole, should be resolved at the earliest. The MHA has mentioned that, the Home Minister has mentioned that when countries like India and Bangladesh can resolve their issues, why can't states within the country resolve their issues? So therefore, the discussion at an unofficial level has been going on with the Chief Minister of Assam even before he took over and even after he took over as Chief Minister. I would like to inform you, though it was not an official meeting, and that's why I did not give a press release or any pictures or anything of it, but the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam and I and his missus and my wife, so 4 of us had dinner last week in Guwahati, and it was just more of a friendly dinner we had, since we both families know each other. And while the dinner was there, we sat for almost 3 hours together, and many such topics came out, including the border issue also. So we have been discussing this at much detail with him, and it is, of course, as I said, it's at a unofficial level, which we have been discussing. So that's number one. Number two, Government of India has been sending us messages and information and asking us to move forward in this line. And therefore, even from an official perspective, the Government of India has also initiated discussions and initiated processes to figure out if there can be an amicable solution to this issue. In this regard, last week on Thursday, I think, if I'm not wrong, Thursday or Friday, I had a meeting with my cabinet colleagues, and I briefed them about the discussion I had with the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, though it was an unofficial meeting. And I also briefed them about the fact that Government of India also has been initiating this discussion for a very long time, and last week it went to a new level where official communication to take the discussions forward have come in. So therefore, to answer your question in a long and in a short way now, is that the entire discussion for the border issue has been a continuous process, and we have been talking unofficially about this issue. We have to realize that this issue is something that is not new to us. It is an issue that has been there for the last 49 years. And therefore, there is no simple solution to this answer. So this question, I'm sorry. There is no simple solution. So in order to be able to take things forward, we need to find ways and means in which we could come up with solutions, that are acceptable, and solutions that are overall acceptable by both sides and amicable. So therefore, it will have to be worked out, and it's difficult to say right now which direction things will go in. But as a government, it is our endeavor to see that we find a permanent solution to this problem. And as was mentioned by the Honorable Home Minister of the state, Shri Lakman Rambui, that it is time now that we find solutions to these. So therefore, a lot of discussions and talks have been taking place, but at an unofficial level, because as I said, this requires a lot of talk and discussion. And at the background of that, Meghalaya also has been doing a lot of homework. In fact, last 3 weeks I've spent more time on the border matter than any other matter. And we will be hoping that we'll be able to take this forward. But I have to put a point of caution out here that it is not a simple issue. It's a very complicated issue, and therefore there will not be a simple solution, and therefore it will require us to be able to figure out what would be amicable and acceptable to both sides. So therefore it will be a process which will require a lot of discussion, and as was mentioned that this is a good time to take this forward also, because there is a very positive relationship in the leadership between Assam and Meghalaya at this point in time. We both share equal respect for each other and for our people and for our state. And also Government of India has been also actively pursuing this matter. So definitely the overall environment is conducive to take the discussions forward. But as I said, it will all depend on the process and what kind of discussions we have. So let's hope for the best. But my point was that yes, we have discussed these matters, but at an official level, we have not met yet. But unofficially, a lot of discussions have taken place. Though, of course, a lot of documentation is there with us, including our documentation which we have tried to maintain and tried to get from 1876, the maps that were there in the Kasi, Jaintia, especially the districts that were there. So all these aspects, a lot of documentation has been done in the past. It's not that it's just that we did it now. The collection has been going on for a very, very long time. But to answer to your specific question, I don't have that particular notification. But in the records of District Council in 1951, there's a delimitation of the Kasi Jaintia Hills Autonomous District Council constituencies was notified by Government of Assam. So those notifications, of course, we have. But apart from that, as I said, specifically there are too many details. So I may not be able to give the specific answer to that. But as I said, we are doing, and the department is doing its homework. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, that let the process start now. And this is a fresh process. We have a new leadership in Assam. And so let us now take the things forward. Let there be an official meeting first, and then we will decide. I think if we are to bring in aspects of the past, then it may just complicate matters more. So what suggestions that we have been working towards is that let us have a fresh start to the entire process. And in this fresh start, we will think of all the options that are there. We'll look at all the documentations in a very open mind, and as I said, we'll start with a very clean slate. The objective is really not to find faults or mistakes or what has happened and not happened, but is to find a solution. So that's why we feel that with the new leadership in Assam now, and a leadership with a very positive mindset and good relationship with Meghalaya leadership, we're hopeful that with this clean slate and this entire new outlook, we will move forward and try to find a solution that's amicable. Honorable Home Minister had desired that before the 75th year of independence of the country, that all these issues, not just with Meghalaya Assam, but with Assam and other states also, should be resolved. So therefore, again, I'm repeating myself that it will be our endeavor and our desire and our efforts to resolve this within that time frame. It will be our efforts, but it all depends on how the talks move forward. It all depends on how the process moves forward. It all depends on how we are able to handle the situation and really ensure that, as I said, again, I'm repeating myself, that we find an amicable solution. So it all depends on the discussions that take place. My humble suggestion would be that we don't go into details right now because it's at a very, very early stage. But as I said, the good part about this particular situation is that we have a new leadership in Assam and a positive relationship there, and we are hopeful that we'll be able to take these discussions in the right direction. We are yet to, number one, of course, we have unofficially heard that he's coming, but when a Home Minister of the country or the Prime Minister of the country comes, then we wait for the official communication from their office. So we have not received the official communication, the itinerary has not been received, so we're waiting for that. That's number one. Number two, that it could be. I don't think it will be possible for me to say what's going to happen, but all the chief ministers will be here, all the chief secretaries and all the DGPs will be here. So, of course, a lot of issues relating to Northeast will be discussed, development-oriented, law and order aspect, international boundary, insurgency, and obviously border issue also would be part of the discussion. But to say that it's going to start with that or how it's going to move forward is difficult to say right now. Whenever such incidents or information that comes to us, there's a very direct communication obviously between Chief Minister Assam and myself, and therefore we communicate to each other directly and inform each other about such instances. Let me also put it on record that it's not that all these instances take place because the Chief Minister or some of the ministers give any kind of instruction or order that it should be done. Sometimes it's the entire system that is there. So the entire machinery works. It's a huge machinery, whether it's Assam state or Meghalaya state that is working. And sometimes there could be officials at the grassroots level that do tend to do certain activities and that cause a bit of tension. So sometimes some people and officials do it at their level, but then it has political and law and order ramifications. So therefore, keeping that in mind, we have had a series of discussions on this on the phone. And even in the recent past, there were some incidents in some areas where police had moved forward from Assam and tried to put up an outpost and all this. So after my brief discussion with Assam CM, saying that till we move forward and while this entire efforts to find a solution to this issue is going on, let us avoid any kind of such aggravating situations. And that's the kind of communication and unofficial discussion which I was mentioning earlier, which you just mentioned now, is that we are ensuring that that discussion takes place. And yes, there could be, I'm not saying there will not be, because there could be officials at the grassroots level who may, but broadly speaking, both the states and both the leadership in both the states have agreed that none of this should be happening now that could lead to aggravating the situation and creating unnecessary misunderstanding and tension between the two states. I think it's impossible to say with certainty that any talks will materialize or not materialize. What is important to realize that as a leader, we need to sometimes decide on certain things and move forward. History is going to judge us on this moment that we decide or don't decide. So therefore, we need to also look at the big picture. And therefore, as a government, we will do whatever it takes to move this discussion forward and try to find an amicable solution. But then, if the solution is not acceptable to our people and to us, then we will not allow that to overcome the situation and allow Meghalaya to suffer. So therefore, it has to be that way, but it is our duty to ensure that we try. And that's what we are assuring the people of the state, and that's what I would like to tell you also as a press. I don't have the latest information, but the last information that I got, which was weeks back, is that construction has been asked by the government of Meghalaya to the government of Assam to stop any kind of construction, not just there, but in any other not disputed areas of differences.